Good Friday afternoon, Action Research students. First of all, thank you for your contributions regarding the statement of your problem and your advisory council members. I have given some feedback on that via Blackboard. I don't see any particular issues or problems at this time. I wanted to do two things today. I indicated in the last podcast that the next one would involve how to do the literature review. I will do that in just a moment. But first, let me say a word about Chapter 1, or your introductory chapter to this three-chapter ECG or EFD 691 Action Research 1 project. In Chapter 1, as you write the introductory chapter, and there is already a spot on Blackboard in the content area indicating you're now ready to start writing Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is introductory. You need to include information about your school or setting. What is your school? What grade levels? What's the makeup, the demographics of your school, and that sort of thing. Secondly, you want to identify the problem. How do you know it is a problem? Statistically, how do you know it's a problem? What is your attendance rate? What is your dropout rate? What is the rate of attendance at your methadone clinic or whatever you're trying to do? Give some statistics that indicate how you know that your problem is indeed a problem. Talk about how it may have been addressed in the past or not, and the relative success or failure of any interventions that have been made in the past. Thirdly, how did you identify this problem to work on? Did it arise as a part of your employment there and a part of your job that you're doing, and you realize there's an improvement that could be made here? Was it something that was assigned to you by an administrator or a principal or an institutional representative? How did you arrive and identify this problem as being the one you're going to work on? Then in the introduction, you also want to talk about the people or groups that are impacted by this issue and why. What difference does it make? What difference is this issue, this problem, making in your organization, in your school? And you will talk about your advisory committee and their role. You can also indicate, if you meet here at the beginning, you can also indicate whether or not your committee has brainstormed ideas and suggestions that they may have and that sort of thing. You can also indicate why they particularly are stakeholders in this issue. So those are some specific things that need to be in Chapter 1. In Chapter 2, you are doing an integrated literature review. You want to examine research that addresses your problem or similar problems. Elementary school attendance, absenteeism, high school or secondary school attendance, attendance in urban areas, rural areas, whatever the case may be, recidivism rate in drug rehab therapy. I mean, there are all kinds of things that counselors deal with in institutional and in school settings. So examine the research that addresses your problem or similar problems. As you begin to search the professional literature, research literature, remember that you're looking for potential interventions, solutions. The general rule is that you want to start broadly. The funnel is wide at the top, and then it narrows down. So keep that principle in mind as you search the literature for various things. Secondly, I want you to integrate the research in your writing about it. Do not do a running commentary article by article. Do not say Article 1 says this, Article 2 says this, Article 3 says this. Do an integrated literature review. Do it thematically. For example, after you have read and read and read, there are some things that are going to emerge, that are going to come to the top. And you will note that they have been mentioned by several different authors, several different publications. Just think about this principle. Which is more compelling? one author, one researcher said this is the way to solve this problem, or here is a solution to the problem that has been tried and implemented by 8 different people. And these articles, 8 of them, show that this is a viable option. So in the final analysis, when you write about your literature review, you will not be giving an article by article, step by step running commentary. You will let the thing emerge by themes, and you will talk about how, for example, if you're addressing the attendance problem, one theme may be an incentivized approach to incentivize and motivate people to be in school more often. Another might be a punishment approach, the punishments for excessive absenteeism. District attorneys get involved with that and so forth. I hope you see the principle there. This is a very important principle, and it's the most important one that I'm going to talk to you about related to your literature review. It needs to be thematically organized. And the more authors and the more articles that you can find that support a particular theme or intervention, the stronger it is as one to be chosen. Students always ask me, how many articles do I need to read? Here's my general answer. It depends on the nature of the problem. For some of the issues that you're going to be addressing, there are a multitude. There is a multitude of articles and research. For others, the research may be fairly limited. Here's my general rule. Read enough so that you are convinced that if you read 5 more articles, 5 more entries, you're not going to find anything new. Okay? That's it. So when you start repeating yourself and you're finding only stuff that you have already read about, then you know that you're pretty much exhausting the options there. Another principle that I want to try to underscore for you is that if you read 5 articles and all of them are quoting from the same original article, go back and get the original article. That one may be the most important one and one upon which you're going to base a decision. Okay? So integrate the research, not an article by article summary. You can critique the research as you write in Chapter 2, and then summarize the key findings in a final few paragraphs or one paragraph at the end of this particular Chapter 2, your literature review. Summarize what your key findings are. And you may even go ahead and say that I have decided, or the committee has decided, or I and the committee have decided that we're going to implement, we're going to select these 3 particular interventions, or this particular intervention. And then in Chapter 3, your 3rd section, which you will complete as we progress throughout this semester, you will be talking about, on the basis of the research, you will talk about possible solutions. You will tell how the plan will be implemented and who will implement your plan. How will you evaluate the results? How long is it going to take? You'll talk about the data that you're going to collect, what instruments you may be using, if any, and whatever may be needed for you to evaluate the effectiveness of your intervention or your solution. You're also going to talk about the time frame for implementation. When are you going to implement? When are you going to collect the data? And that sort of thing. So that Chapter 3 is not necessarily very long, but it's very specific, and it sets forth the plan that you're going to implement in EFD or ECG 692 in the second half of this particular action research project. So you're at the literature review point now. You want to take the time you need to do an exhaustive search. You have remote access to the Houston Cole Library and all of the findings that are there. I think you'll find most everything you will need in the review section, finding articles and so forth, books from the Houston Cole Library. Always, if you have any questions, you can certainly email me individually, privately, and I'll respond to your personal question. So I hope this gives you a broad overview of what I'm looking for in the literature review as you're selecting, finding proven, data-driven, effective solutions to the problem or similar problems to the one that you're addressing. I hope you have a terrific weekend. This is Friday, February the 1st, and I think we're right on target, maybe even a little ahead of schedule with things for the term. So keep up the good work. Let me know if you have any problems. Have a great weekend.